This is my reflection video for speech. So far in speech, week 5, I've learned that there's a certain way that you talk to people. There's a way that you speak that lets them know that you want them engaged in the conversation that you're speaking. And that, in turn, makes them feel a certain level of understanding. And that you are speaking in a way that they can understand what you are trying to get across. And to do this, there are certain rules that you kind of have to follow while you're doing this, because it's just there's if you don't abide by these rules, you're not going to really get an equal understanding of what you're trying to get across. And you have to carry emotion throughout what you say. You have to care about what you're saying. You have to be compassionate about it. You have to actually believe in what you're saying, so you have like a backbone to whatever you're speaking about. You have to be considerate if they have something that they want to say you're having a discussion instead of speaking to somebody, you're having a discussion. You have to hear points back, some little bit of rebuttal. You have to be able to answer those questions in a manner to where you're not really pushing your side. You're kind of discussing it. You're putting it on the table for discussion, so that you can equally discuss the idea and figure out whose point sits with the other better. There's a certain level of I don't really know how to word it. It's kind of like all in the expression and the understanding and the emotion and the clarity and the way that you speak, and that's what I've learned so far in speech. I mean, it's just genuinely how you speak to people, and also how you present yourself. There's people who talk with their hands. I talk with my hands a lot, and sometimes that can be confusing to people. But there's just many different ways to speak. But there's the certain ground rules that are set down to where you get the other person to actually engage in what you're saying. And say you're speaking to an audience, you're trying to make a connection with those people that you're talking to, something deep down to make them actually engage in their mind and focus on what words you're actually saying, and how that has a connection to something that they've been through or something that they are going through in their life. And that goes along with that level of understanding. And once you've engaged that part of the mind, you can actually get your point across in what you're trying to say. So this is what I've mostly learned so far, is that you have to speak in a way to be understood. And if you're not understood, there's really no point to the conversation, because that person that went away from that discussion or speech doesn't really understand what you said, and didn't really comprehend it either, because you didn't speak in a way that was understood, or you didn't have enough of those rules behind the way that you were speaking for them to actually engage in the conversation. So that's what I've learned so far through speech.